Hi everyone, so today I thought I would share some common signs from the other side. So the next time you see one of these signs or you receive one of these signs one way or the other, don't doubt yourself. Whoever you think of in terms of the sign that you're getting, believe that they're really there trying to communicate with you. So on that note, let's get started. So one of the most common signs are special numbers. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, for instance, you might be looking at a driver's license plate and notice that those numbers correspond somehow to a loved one in spirit. Maybe that number pertains to their favorite sports hero, or maybe their passing date, or maybe your birthday. And again, whoever you think of immediately relating to that sign is who's really trying to come to you. So that's your own telepathic psychic abilities, by the way. The other thing too, sometimes numbers will come to you from a loved one and they may have a more deeper meaning. For instance, in numerology, numbers have meanings. So if you look at the clock and you get 444 and you think of your grandmother, you might want to say, what is grandmother trying to tell me if those numbers don't relate to a birthday or something special around her directly? Look at the numbers, look at numerology, and you'll know what kind of message that she's trying to convey to you. Because again, numbers have meanings. Another sign that people will often report are songs. So oftentimes you might hear a song that reminds you of that person. Maybe it's their favorite song, or maybe it has some sort of character, or the minute you hear it, and you hear it repeatedly, maybe you hear it in the morning, then you turn on the radio, you hear it later at night, then you turn on TV, you hear it again. Whoever you connect that song with is that person trying to get a hold of you. I have a really special story I'll never forget. Many years ago, I was doing a house party, and when this woman sat down, she was a younger woman, I had mentioned, I said, oh my God, I said, your husband's here. And she's somebody that you would never expect that would have lost a husband, but he had passed. And interestingly enough, I said, he's telling me the song Unchained Melody, that's your favorite song. She looked at me and I said, he also said that you just heard it earlier today. And she looked at me again. What had happened early in the morning, that song came up on the radio, waking her up, and that was their song. They had played it at their wedding. But wait, it gets even better. On my way home after the party, he was actually in my vehicle, and we were talking, and he was telling me it was great having the opportunity to connect with my wife and share this, beautiful song, our song. But as he started to fade from my car, that song came up on the radio for me. It's interesting how things can go full circle. Another sign are pennies. You hear the song Pennies from Heaven, right? Well, let me tell you, pennies from heaven do exist. I prefer $100 bills, but I'll take pennies anyways. Most people don't even have coins these days. But that being said, many times you'll see a penny in an unexpected place or some sort of coin. And again, whoever you think of immediately is who's really trying to connect with you. So never doubt that. And feel free to talk to that person. But another way is that feeling of a feeling of warmth. A feeling of peace and just that sensation. And sometimes it can happen in the most unexpected ways. You might be in your kitchen, you might be just sitting down. Maybe you're having a bad day and suddenly this feeling overwhelms you. And the minute you think of your loved one, clearly they're there trying to let you know that you're going to be okay, that they love you, that you still have work left here to do. But more importantly, that they're always there for you. Another very common way are distinctive smells. For instance, maybe you smell this incredible fragrance that reminds you of your grandmother. Typically, when you get a fragrance, it's maybe about 20 seconds. Sometimes you'll look at yourself and question, did I just smell something? I don't recall having flowers yet. Those flowers reminded me of my grandmother, the smell of lilies, which was Graham's favorite, flower. Or maybe you're smelling aftershave or tobacco or, candles or whatever. Another way are electricities. I love anything electrical because it's very common. So sometimes, you might notice your appliances going on automatically. And you're like, how did, my toaster oven go on? Or maybe you notice flashing lights. You see, anything electrical, anything that has an electrical current makes perfect sense because when you're out of your body, you're very electrical. You look the best, you feel the best, but you're very much an electrical human being. So it's very easy for people on the other side to manipulate anything electrical. Maybe you get a phone call and there's no caller. I can tell you a funny little story. Many years ago, my uncle had passed away, had gone up to hospital. And when I left, I thought, oh, he's going to be passing in the next 2 hours. Well, at 5 o'clock in the morning, I was awakened and there was my uncle. And I proceeded to go downstairs and he was telling me everything was okay. And he was smiling and laughing. And he said, go sit in your office. Now, I'm the only one home. Everything is turned off. My computer is off. I sit in my office and all of a sudden my printer started to print. In order for the printer to print, it would have to be hooked up and turned on with the computer, and it wasn't. And when I looked at the print, what came out were a bunch of smiley faces, and my uncle was laughing. So they can manipulate anything electrical. So don't be surprised, don't be, scared, don't be worried. It's just their way of communicating. Another example are birds. I mean, we always hear about birds and we hear about butterflies and dragonflies. And no, let's just clear it up right now. Your loved one is not a bird or a dragonfly or a butterfly. But when you look at birds or dragonflies or butterflies, you know that they mean heaven. Birds are very associated with heaven. And, when you see feathers, we know that your loved ones are trying to say, I'm here in heaven or I'm here with you. Butterflies are very interesting because they definitely symbolize the metamorphosis, right? You've gone from being a caterpillar, which I equate to being humans, to a butterfly, which is our true inner spirit selves, so that they've arrived, they've moved on to the next level. Another really interesting way that sometimes spirits will try to get our attention is if you have toys around. You might be sitting in your living room and maybe you have a doggy ball around, or maybe a kid's ball just sitting in the middle of the living room, and all of a sudden you see it moving and you're like, how is that happening? The minute you see that, and whoever you think of, that's a good chance that that's your loved one trying to connect with you. But listen, there's no reason to be frightened, just so you know. Again, whoever you think of, that's who's trying to communicate with you. Animals are also really perceptive. We all know that animals are great when we know that there's going to be, say, an earthquake, right? Animals start to act a little strange, a little odd. If they're wildlife, they tend to run into certain areas. When you notice your pet doggy or kitty or bunny or bird or hamster or fishy or whatever sort of acting a little strange, maybe staring into a certain part of the room, there is a good chance that they're seeing a loved one. Another way that our loved ones try to communicate with us are through, finding objects in unexpected places. So for instance, I've had this happen too. I have all sorts of crazy stuff given what I do for a living. One time I woke up in the morning and I found my belt on the counter, and it was in a weird place, and I'd been looking for that belt, and I had asked someone on the other side to assist me in finding it, and like 2 days later I found it on the counter in a really weird place. So nothing like putting the other side to work. Why not, right? Another way to understand when loved ones are trying to get messages are physical sensations. So you might actually feel the sensation of maybe somebody poking you, maybe somebody hugging you. Oftentimes people say in their dreams that they do report seeing loved ones, and they actually can feel the energy of a loved one, or they actually feel the physical sensation of somebody, loving them, hugging them, kissing them, whatever. So physical sensations, I can give you a really good example. One time I was in my hotel bedroom and I actually had a visitor. Wasn't necessarily a loved one, although maybe he felt a little romance because he was in my, hotel suite. And my ensuite, where I had the light off, I saw him while I was on the phone. And I saw him walking, and all of a sudden the lights went on. So I had to get out of bed and walk over to the wall and turn the light off. I'm like, okay, Mr. Romance. Well, then I got back into bed. I continued talking to a friend, and then finally I'm like, I've got to go to bed. So of course I fell asleep, and about 20 minutes into my sleep, all of a sudden he started to pull my feet. So I did have a visitor that night. Again, maybe it was like a little bit of romance. It wasn't necessarily a loved one, but I did have a visitor. Was I frightened? Absolutely not, so nothing to be fearful of. And if you ever are fearful, all you have to do is just say, do you come in the name of God? God created everybody good and bad, and that's all you need to do. And you can always say you need to leave if they're scaring you, but there's nothing to be frightened. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be somebody from the other side. Maybe it's a grandmother, maybe it's a best friend, maybe it's your favorite aunt, who knows? The sky's the limit. And know that they're just simply there to let you know that they love you, they've got your back, and go ahead and talk to them, because when you're out of your body, you're still a person too. So I hope that gives you some insight, and we'll talk again.